Okay, everybody, I wanted to come to you and talk to you a little bit about guaranteed issue and my thoughts on the matter. So a lot of times I see agents, they are looking at all the options that the client can qualify for, but number one, you want to find out as you're going through the process earlier on in the health assessment to find out what they can qualify for. You're trying to find out obviously the best type of coverage that the client can get. It's our due diligence, it's our fiduciary responsibility. Look that word up if you don't know what it means. You want to make sure that you're acting in the best interest of the person that you're serving here. If you always keep that rule in mind, then everything else will be a-okay, right? You're doing the best that you absolutely can. And that's why we have, a multitude of carriers that we can use for the client, right? So one thing that happens is you have a client and you think that they can get one thing, and then you prepare them for that one thing, and then unfortunately it doesn't quite go our way. So early in the process, I always like to prepare them. So like on a worst case scenario, this is what it could roughly be in terms of the cost, right? In this scenario, it could be this. I'm gonna shoot for this, Mary, but if we end up getting this, is that something you'd be willing to take? Yeah. Now, of course, later, if they end up getting this latter option, then I'll go into explaining that secondary option and how it works. I've made another video regarding, guaranteed issue, return of premium, etc. If someone could qualify for a day one coverage and they're in a 2-year waiting period, then I will call it a 2-year waiting period. If all they can get is a 2-year waiting period, and my quotations are sarcastic, they're not, I wouldn't call it a 2-year waiting period unless I don't want them to get it, or I want them to get something better. That's the only reason why I'd call it a 2-year waiting period, because it's not fully understood. The term, believe it or not, you're assuming that your client knows what it means. You're assuming that you know what it means, and maybe they don't, or you don't quite fully understand it. So you want to be able to explain it in a way that allows the person to make a decision with accurate and correct data. Just because somebody talks doesn't mean that what they're saying is correct. So you want to look at who you're getting your information from, okay? So you have to look at the best option for the client based on what they can qualify for, based on their health, based on all of that. So would they rather save the money in a bank account, or would you rather have a policy pay for this for you? Most people are going to say a policy, right? Because that money in the savings account ends up being used for other things, often unintended. Emergencies, medical bills, end-of-life expenses like a nursing home or some sort of facility is just going to take over the client's finances, and then they're just going to lose and deplete all of their money unless they were very, very wealthy. And in most cases, 80% of Americans are not, right? They're living paycheck to paycheck, and they are, have less than $1,000 saved. That's just 80%. So there's 20% out there a little bit better off. But most people you're going to talk to, 8 out of 10, in fact, are going to be struggling with those issues. So do the best that you can for the client. Guaranteed issue is another topic I made in another video. I just wanted to kind of talk around it just a little bit more based off of today's training. We went over, the topic of guaranteed issue, and it came to my attention that a lot of people, in my opinion, are not fully utilizing how they could be explaining it or communicating it in an effective way that would be accurate, that would lead the client to make a decision that would be well informed, not one of uninformed, but one that is informed, right? That's important, that they know what they can get and they don't walk off the call thinking that there's some better option out there if there's in fact not one, okay? I hope that this finds you well, and I hope that this is very helpful for you, and I hope you all have a fantastic day. Help as many people as you possibly can.